Good morning, everyone. It's August the 30th, 2023. As you can see by the title that I've put up on this particular video, you'll notice it's interesting. And the reason I've put this up is because I got a viewer who texted me there last night after I put it up about the rats that we have here in Ottawa. So I want to tell you a few stories about the rats in Ottawa. And some are in Lowertown, but this is all over our city, but mostly down in the ones I know about are Centertown and Lowertown and that. And just to let you know, I'm fourth generation, born and raised here in Ottawa. So there's a lot of stories that used to also come from my ancestors as well, who were also raised here in Ottawa. I want to share one of the best stories that I've ever heard, and kind of scared the heck out of me when I was a child, because when I was a child, we had many more movie theaters before Ottawa changed. They were separate movie theaters, and now, of course, today we've got these big Cineplex theaters where we have multi-screens in the theater. Much more comfortable, definitely. I love the chairs. We can lay back and really relax. Well, when I was a little girl, we had several theaters on Bank Street. We had the Capitol Theater, which had that beautiful curved stairway and that beautiful chandelier. It was hanging in the foyer, as well as just across the street we also had the Regent Theater. That was the one that was so great for the children because that's where most of the Walt Disney movies came out that we used to watch. But we also had another theater further up Bank Street. It was called the Richelieu Theater, and it was in operation probably up until my teenage years, certainly into my 20s a little bit, and that would have been in the late 70s, maybe very early 80s before it closed down as well. But this Richelieu Theater had a really interesting nickname, and this came from my grandparents and my parents, and they told me the nickname for that theater, everybody just called this the Rat Hole. Well, guess what? This was the rat hole, because I was told how oftentimes that it went during the run of this theater that the people would go in, they'd sit in their seats, they'd be in the middle of the movie, and suddenly they'd be feeling something at their feet. Well, they looked down, and sure enough, the rats were running through their feet, and of course somebody screamed rat, and I was told that everybody suddenly put their feet up on the seats in front of them. So this is how that was how that came about, that name was. We've had numerous situations over the years with rats. And that's, I can remember living off Preston Street, for example. We had what we called at the end of the street the junkyard, where it was just piled with garbage, and we had big rats in there. And I remember one day the kids were just getting out of school. The paramedic truck was coming along, slammed on the brakes. I looked to see what he was pointing at, the driver. There was one of our big sewer rats was running in the street. So they called the authorities right away, and the police and everything. They tried to get the rat out of the road before the children got out of the school. So that's another story that I can certainly tell you about. But the stories go right back to the original name of Ottawa being Bytown, and the rats. And of course, being in Lowertown, we are the oldest part of the city. And so we had a lot of rat problems going into a lot of the old buildings here at one point. But what we've had now is a lot of problems with the construction and our rats being displaced. In other words, we have the condos going up. We've had Rideau Street, Montreal Road. We've had these huge construction projects as well, not to mention the O train. So a lot of the rats have been displaced, and that's why we're also seeing other outbreaks at times. For an example, I saw one woman on CTV News. She was talking about having a rat infestation in her backyard. So that shows that they're being displaced. Another time, it affected our fire department. We had a brand new fire station apparently put up, and they had a rat infestation, and they had to evacuate the fire station for a bit till they got that settled. So Ottawa's known from the past for the rats. And yes, we have rats here. Well, this is what's happening down here in Lowertown right now, is the rats are coming out with all the garbage that's being around. Now, I've seen rats around my garbage bin here too. We had a problem with the garbage bin where it was rotted out at the bottom, And so they had to come along, flip it on its side, and they had to put a whole new bottom on the garbage bin. But these dumpster divers, as I call them, sometimes they leave the garbage. They don't even clean it up when they go through for the bottles and things. So that's a problem. The other big problem I see is with the homeless. Now, I'm not knocking down the mission. I think they're doing an excellent job of feeding the homeless people down here. But when they come around with the truck, they will give out sometimes 2, sometimes 3 containers to them with the food in them. And what we're seeing with this junk is often these food containers, they will take them off and they will literally eat them, or sometimes it's only half eaten. But any scrap of food, like this junk, like I was showing you with this place, I've seen these containers, this attracts the rats. So this is one of the biggest things that we had in Ottawa over the years, not attracting the rats and keeping from attracting the rats. And one of the biggest things that I know, my mother being a registered nurse, always had told me to clean up the garbage, make sure your garbage can containers were sealed properly. Because, again, it came back to the fact that we've just been through the pandemic. Well, she always reminded me as a child, you have to wash your hands, you have to clean up, make sure you are clean. Because of the big reminder, don't forget, in the Middle Ages, we had the bubonic plague that swept over Europe. And it was the rats that were blamed for that. So I just want to acknowledge my viewer, and I'm glad she brought it up, but I just wanted to let people know that this is another problem. There's the garbage down here, and the rats are being attracted to it, and they do carry disease. So I think this was very wonderful. I'm so thankful you brought that to my attention so I can give a shout out on it. And I don't know how we're going to solve this problem. And like I said, I'm not downing the mission. I'm so thankful that they are. I've had to use the mission truck a few times myself as a pensioner. I understand it's hard to make it from payday to payday, and especially with the inflation that we're dealing with today. So I appreciate your comments, and I just wanted to give a shout out on this again today and let people have a little bit better idea why we're having a rat problem down here as well. So everyone take care, and I shall see you again and talk to you again soon, and bye-bye. Take care.